8 months off, injury layoff, fighting a flu, benched in 4 out of 5 games, and Caitlin Clark still walks away as the youngest MVP in FIBA qualifying tournament history. Let that sink in for a second. Because this isn't just a comeback story, this is about what happens when you can't keep a player like Clark off the floor, no matter how hard some coaches tried. Today we're breaking down exactly how she did it. The Spain game, the stats that dominated the whole tournament, and why 2026 already looks dangerous for anyone facing the Indiana Fever and Team USA in the World Cup. Let me know down in the comments below how proud you are of Caitlin.
MVP of the tournament is none other than Miss Caitlin Clark. It's undeniable the impact she's made on women's basketball, and here in Puerto Rico had quite the showing. Her debut with the senior team was a double-double with both points and assists. And in her senior debut, she wins the TISO MVP at the FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament here in Puerto Rico.
The last game against Spain started very close. Spain came in with a plan, and for a while, it was actually working. Their young core was pushing the pace, getting into the paint, and making Team USA uncomfortable.
Ball over, you might as well count it in.
Gustafson spots up for three, and Gustafson gets half an inch of space. That three-pointers looked good all tournament long. Hamby connects again up top. Just off the back rim, Spain comes down with it. Cazorla over to Gustafson. Gustafson off the glass is good.
Ayua Pham, who's going to be a top WNBA draft pick, was scoring and holding her own against elite competition. Iana Martin, who's just 20 years old, was distributing and defending at a level that had Team USA's starting unit genuinely unsettled. The score kept flipping back and forth in that first quarter, and by the time the second quarter started, it was tied. Tied. Against a Team USA squad that had been rolling through this tournament, and Caitlin Clark was sitting on the bench.
Starting lineup today for Team USA, and it's no surprise to either of us here that the different starting lineup, every single one of these games had a different starting lineup. And
that's the part that had fans losing their minds on social media. 4 out of 5 games this tournament, Clark came off the bench instead of starting. And right there on the screen, Spain was hanging around, the offense looked slow, and the best playmaker on the roster was watching. People were asking the same question out loud. Why? Why is your floor general not on the floor right now? Spain was running a soft box and one and mixing in zone looks, and Team USA's starting unit had no real answer for it. The ball movement was sticky, the pace was slow. It looked like they were playing in mud, honestly. Then Clark checked in.
Gustafson doing the right thing. She knows it's going to be tough to get to the basket with too many bumps with the big.
The moment she steps on the floor, the whole tempo of the game just shifts. Where the starting unit was getting bottled up by Spain's blitz defense, Clark was turning that pressure into fast breaks. She was reading the defense before it even set, finding the kickout passes, pulling up from logo range, and forcing Spain's defenders to chase her all the way out to half court. When you have to guard someone that far from the basket, your whole defensive structure starts to break down, and Clark knows exactly how to exploit that.
Ryan Howard on the wing, up to Caitlin Clark. Clark from deep. What a shot from Caitlin. Man down, Caitlin Clark.
One source close to the team said Clark really got us going, and that she brings this dynamic play to the offensive end. That's not hype. That's what showed up on the scoreboard. Every meaningful scoring run Team USA put together in that game happened with Clark on the floor. The final score was 84-70, but that number actually undersells how competitive this game was before she took over. Spain was good. Pham and Martin are real players. The fact that Clark came in and made it look manageable is more impressive because of that, not less.
Caitlin, what's your favorite part of playing for Team USA?
Favorite part? I would put it on this shirt.
She also played more minutes than anyone else on the entire Team USA roster in this tournament. Not just the Spain game, the whole thing. So the player they kept benching to start games was also the player they couldn't afford to take off the floor once she was in.
Spain, one of the best young prospects there is around the world. Kelsey Plum wide open for three, cannot leave her.
Picture this. A player comes off the bench in 4 out of 5 games and still leads the entire team in minutes played. That alone should stop you cold, but that's not all. She also leads the team in assists, plus minus, and efficiency. That's not a bench player catching fire for a week. That's something completely different.
Clark trying to get open now, passes it over to Beckers. Beckers uses the re-screen, falls, finds Clark, who gets the extra pass in the corner to Copper, and Copper.
So let's just lay the numbers out. Clark averaged 11.6 points per game across 5 games. She dished out 6.4 assists per game, which adds up to 32 total assists across the tournament. She led Team USA in 2-point field goal percentage, free throws made, and free throws attempted. And she did all of that while playing more minutes than anyone else on the roster. Anyone. The player they kept benching to start games was also the player logging the most time on the floor. Those two facts sitting next to each other don't make any sense, unless you just look at what happened every time she was actually out there.
Here's Young, looking to take advantage of a wide-open Howard. Can't this time, and Gustafson with the rebound, but she saves it inbounds to Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin Clark is there to...
Here's where it gets interesting. The plus-minus number. Clark didn't just lead Team USA in plus-minus. She led the entire tournament. Every team, every player, every nation competing in Puerto Rico. When Clark was on the floor, Team USA outscored opponents by a margin that nobody else in the whole field could touch. You can argue about role and fit and system all day long, but plus-minus just tells you what the scoreboard did while a player was out there. And the scoreboard loved Clark. The efficiency rating backs that up too. Across all competing nations in this tournament, Clark's efficiency number put her at the top of the field. Not just the top of Team USA, the top of everyone.
Now, her and Paige buckets.
Copper, she wants a...
And the assist number is worth slowing down on. 6.4 assists per game at a FIBA qualifying tournament is a serious number. Guards at this level, playing against organized international defenses that are specifically designed to take away the pass, averaging over 6 assists a game is genuinely hard to do. Clark was doing it coming off the bench, getting fewer early game possessions than a starter, and still finding teammates at that rate.
The glass, a nice finish to take the lead. Caitlin Clark tries to come the other way. The late whistle will put Clark to the line for 2 points.
And
the free throw numbers tell their own story too. Getting to the line consistently means you're attacking, you're drawing contact, and you're forcing defenses into hard choices. That's not a player sitting in a limited role and waiting for open looks. That's a player who's actively hunting advantages on every single possession.
Clark in transition. Clark turns the corner, and it's going to be a foul called on number 5 for Team Spain. Maite Cazorla, her first personal foul of the game.
So here's what the full stat sheet actually says. The coaching decisions and the data were pointing in completely opposite directions all tournament long. The player leading the team in nearly every meaningful category was also the player watching the opening tip from the bench in 4 out of 5 games. That tension is impossible to look away from, and the numbers make it impossible to defend. 8 months off the floor. Benched to start 4 out of 5 games, and she still walked away as the youngest MVP in FIBA qualifying tournament history. So let's actually sit with that for a second. This wasn't FIBA handing Clark a trophy because she's the biggest name in women's basketball right now. The MVP was based on 5 full games of data, 11.6 points per game, 6.4 assists per game, tournament leading plus-minus, and efficiency numbers that no other player in the entire field could touch. Every team, every nation, every player who showed up in Puerto Rico, Clark topped them all. To add to that, this is actually her second MVP award in a FIBA-sanctioned tournament. The first one came back in 2021 when she led the USA U19 team. So she's done this before, at a younger age, and now she's done it again coming off a major injury layoff with experimental lineups and coaching decisions working against her the whole way through.
She's the best. She's not just a legend, but a great, great person.
The All-Star 5 selection that came alongside the MVP isn't just a bonus. It means the people whose entire job is to evaluate international basketball on a technical level looked at this tournament and landed in the same place the numbers did. Clark was the most impactful player on the floor across all 5 games. That's not a popularity vote. That's a basketball judgment, and the youngest ever part matters because of what it actually means going forward. She's doing this right now, at this age, still getting better. That's the part that should make every Indiana Fever fan genuinely excited, rather than just relieved she made it through the tournament healthy. So let's talk about what comes next, because Puerto Rico didn't happen in a vacuum. The floor general skills Clark sharpened running Nate Tibbetts' offense in this tournament. The pick and roll reads, the outlet passes, the pace she was pushing, all of that comes back to Indianapolis with her. The offensive system Tibbetts ran over these 5 games is basically a working preview of what a healthy, fully empowered Clark-led Fever team could look like for a full WNBA season. Fast, guard-heavy, built around Clark initiating everything from the top of the key. And then there's Berlin. The 2026 World Cup and the 2026 WNBA season are now connected in a way they weren't before this tournament. Clark proved she can anchor a fast, guard-led offense at the international level right after a serious injury kept her off the floor for 8 months. That's not a small thing. A lot of players come back from long layoffs and need half a season just to find their legs. Clark came back and led the whole tournament in plus-minus and efficiency.
Successful tournament for Team USA as they go home with 5 wins under their belts.
The chemistry she built with Paige Beckers over these 5 games in Puerto Rico is going with both of them to Berlin, and international defenses are going to have a real problem on their hands. Let's talk about what actually changed when Nate Tibbetts took over, because it's not subtle. It's right there on the tape. Kara Lawson's approach to Clark was basically to use her off the ball. Spread the minutes, keep the offense balanced, don't let any one player dominate the system. On paper, that sounds like smart roster management. On the floor, it looked like Team USA was deliberately putting the brakes on their own offense. And Lawson was mysteriously absent from the Spain game entirely. But her fingerprints were all over the early parts of this tournament. The conservative rotations, the cautious lineups, the fact that Clark was watching opening tips from the bench while opponents hung around.
Overall, very, very pleased with the tournament, our group. We got a great group of women that are proud to wear a USA jersey, which is awesome. And it was a lot of fun for me coming down here. I thought I was going to be on vacation as an assistant, and you know, Kara had to get back to more important stuff, and so yeah, I appreciate the players and the coaching staff that helped me along the way.
Well, you still got the tan like you're on vacation,
Yes,
so you're doing all
yeah.
right.
Tibbetts did something different. Guard-heavy lineups, faster tempo, and Clark actually initiating the offense instead of spotting up on the wing, waiting for someone to find her. The results were immediate. Look at the Italy game. Clark was running pick and roll after pick and roll, making reads before the defense could even react, finding the open man on the short roll, pushing the pace in transition off made and missed baskets. Italy had no answer for it because there's no good answer when Clark is making decisions that fast at the top of the key. And then the New Zealand game happened. That's where you could really see what Tibbetts was building. Clark started that game, the first time all tournament she was in the opening lineup, and played 23 minutes, the most on the team. With Beckers alongside her and Kelsey Plum spacing the floor, Team USA didn't just win, they suffocated New Zealand completely. That lineup was so hard to guard because Clark and Beckers can both score and pass, so defenses have to pick their poison on every single possession, and there's no right answer.
Scorer for this New Zealand team with 6 points to go along with 3 boards. Kelsey Plum, look at that steal, hands it up to Caitlin Clark.
Stephanie White's preference for a slower pace is also part of this picture. Clark has talked about to be cause and effect, right there on the stat sheet.
For the coach, how will you evaluate the team's overall performance with the biggest positive, and from your perspective, the areas does the team still need to improve moving forward?
Yeah, I think KP hit on it. Just, this is a new group with a new staff. I was pleased with our ball movement. I thought we did a really good job of making the extra pass. We got some wide open threes. Obviously, we're super talented, but I loved how unselfish we were.
Are you ready for the part of this tournament that might actually matter most for the next 2 years? Because Clark and Paige Beckers didn't just play well together in Puerto Rico. They built something, and international defenses are going to have a real problem with it. These two came into this tournament having barely played together. Different teams, different systems, different roles their whole careers. But by the time the Spain game rolled around, they were reading each other in real time. Clark would push the pace off a rebound, and Beckers already knew exactly where to be. Beckers would come off a screen, and Clark was already loading the pass before Beckers even cleared the defender. That kind of stuff usually takes a full season to develop. They did it in 5 games.
Chucks up the 3, Spain wanted the call, but Paige is leaking her against Dioso, and that one is good for Team USA as Spain calls the timeout. Mad about the no call on that one, and you think Coach Miguel Mendez will have a talk with the referees.
The 2-man game they were running is genuinely hard to guard because both of them can score and both of them can pass. So when a defense collapses on Clark at the top of the key, Beckers is getting a kick-out 3. And when a defense tries to follow Beckers through a screen, Clark is reading the rotation and finding the open cutter. There's no right answer for a defense when 2 players that good are making decisions that fast together. Analysts were calling it flat-out unguardable, and watching the film, it's hard to argue. Now, the Angel Reese situation early in this tournament was real, and it's worth talking about honestly. Reese is most effective when she's getting post touches and operating in a half-court set where she can muscle for position. When Tibbetts shifted the system toward a faster, guard-heavy tempo, that dynamic changed. Early on, you could see the friction in how possessions were playing out. The ball was living in Clark and Beckers' hands, and Reese wasn't getting the same kind of involvement she's used to. The transition-heavy system actually ended up finding a role for Reese that worked. She is one of the best rebounders in the game, so in a faster system, she becomes the engine that starts the break. She grabs the board, outlets to Clark, and sprints the floor as a rim runner. That's a real job in a fast offense, and by the Spain game, that's basically what was happening. The tension from the early games had settled into something functional. So the system change didn't just unlock Clark, it helped Reese find where she fit within it too. And Beckers was already built for that kind of pace. What Clark and Beckers have right now is a foundation. They've got pick and roll chemistry, transition reads, and trust in each other's decision-making, And they built all of that in 1 week in Puerto Rico. Berlin is going to be a whole different problem for whoever has to guard them. 8 months off, benched 4 out of 5 games, and Clark still led the entire tournament in plus-minus and efficiency. Then walked away with the MVP, youngest ever. That's not a story about overcoming odds. That's just what she does when you finally let her run. Indiana Fever fans, Team USA fans, Puerto Rico was a preview. When Clark has the keys to the offense, the ceiling on both of those teams is something we genuinely haven't seen yet. The World Cup 2026 in Berlin is coming fast. Let me know down in the comments below how proud you are of Caitlin. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen and we will see you in the next one.